participants to have at least whatever doubts they are carrying clarified, I would encourage the participants to please ask questions. I hope that is allowed, ma'am, during the session.
Yes, yes. They can
Okay,
raise
great.
their hands and we will allow them. Whenever you think it's right, you can also
Huh.
ask and we can also ask them.
Yes, so I have a structured presentation. Plus, I'm also carrying some extra material that I found freely available online, which I would like to share with all the participants. Even if it is not useful directly today, maybe later, sometimes in their research careers, it may become useful. It's some guidelines on research writing from IEEE in ResearchGate, and I would also like to share a couple of my own published papers in which I used a interdisciplinary approach. So that that also maybe participants can imbibe. So with your permission, ma'am, should I get started?
Please.
Okay, fine. So I'll just share my screen first, and after the session, I will just email all of this material to you so that you can share it with all the participants.
Definitely.
So I hope that this is visible now. So I hope, ma'am, is this folder visible?
We can't see you. Yes, it
Yes,
is. We
ma'am.
can see the folders that are there.
Okay, there may be some lag. I'm just opening the documents now. So
Sure.
I'm just taking you through the reading material that I would share immediately after this. I think there's a lag. Okay. So this is a document which is available online, and it is a ResearchGate publication. It is Guide to Academic Writing. It has a very nice way of explaining how you should write formal proposals, formal research articles, and I hope that it will be useful to our participants. I'm not going to teach through it because it's a freely available source of material, so I will not be teaching you through it. I'll be teaching you through my own material. Okay. Then the second is this IEEE. I don't know if we have faculty members here who are into pure sciences research or engineering research. For them, this manual will be very, very handy because it tells you what the editors of journals look at when they are evaluating a paper for publication. And in fact, the same requirements are there for any government agency, any private funding agency as well. They are looking for the accuracy of your proposal, the richness of your literature, and of course, the methodologies that you're wanting to deploy. So this is also there. This is from IEEE. Then I got this reading material as a PPT from one of the professors, which is also very, very useful. I share it with my own scholars, which again, I think the participants would find handy. Okay, so this is how you get ready with your data, and then how do you write a scientific research paper. And the same tools that we use here are the tools that we deploy whenever we write a research proposal for any agency. Okay. Then these two are my own papers, which are published, of course. This is in a category journal. And if any one of you belong to finance, you would see that in this paper, I've used a very unique methodology, which does not get deployed in finance very regularly. And when we are able to intermingle different methodologies with traditional concepts of finance, then we do get a chance to actually publish in allied areas like applied economics, for example. Okay, so this is a paper that you can go through in which we have looked at financial determinants of NPAs, and we have looked at it from the lens of the ISM methodology. Okay, it's a very unique methodology, again pioneered by one of our own professors here in IIT Delhi, and we've deployed that, and we were able to get published in applied economics on the basis of this methodology. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to drive home, which I'll discuss more, is how you can intermingle your basic core area with other areas, how you can link it to other areas and also link it to other methodologies. So you do something unique which becomes attractive to journals, to agencies who are wanting to look at something new emanating in the field of research. This paper again is a published paper by me in the Journal of Advances in Management Research, and I wanted to share this simply for the style of writing. If you look at the way this paper has been written, let me just maximize. Look at the way the sentences are framed. They are very, very small sentences, very to the point, and very simple sentences. Research writing is a very formal way of writing. We don't need to use flowery language to impress anyone. The sentences need to be crisp, accurate, and they need to convey the point across. So I'm sharing this paper with all of you simply because of the style of writing. Okay, so of course, in our journey as academicians, we come across different kinds of scholars who have their own inimitable style of writing. All of us have our own styles of writing, but in case you can imbibe this simplistic style of writing, I think that'll go a long way in getting published as well as getting accepted for research for different agencies. Okay. So I hope that this is okay. Any doubts or questions so far, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to my material here. So I put in a lot of currency science because I'm a finance professor, but otherwise there's nothing too lucrative here. Okay. Uh, so here are some guides that I tell my scholars as well as what my colleagues here follow. First of all, after COVID, the entire world and all kinds of research agencies are looking at multidisciplinary solutions for the post COVID world. You know that all of the issues that are facing our planet these days don't have solutions that can emanate from a single field of research. We need to intermingle our core areas with other areas so that we can provide wholesome solutions. You also know that in the light of climate change, the effects of which we are facing across the world, and in the light of the SDGs, okay, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, all agencies are looking at solutions that mirror one of these or more of these goals. So whatever you do, please keep that in mind. Always keep the objective of these agencies in mind. Don't give them a very intricate piece of research proposal, which actually doesn't end up solving any one of these myriad issues that we are facing here. So try and link whatever work you're doing to the challenges that are faced by our planet, especially post COVID. And because of this, these days, there's a lot of funding coming in from healthcare. Okay. In fact, IIT Delhi, which is primarily an engineering institution, has worked extensively with AIMS. And I'm sure you must be aware that we have a center on biomedical engineering in our institute. We have Kusuma School of Biological Sciences in our institute now, just telling us the need to intermingle pure engineering, pure sciences with healthcare, with medicine, with biology to provide solutions. Okay. And you'll find it very surprising, but as a finance professor, I was able to bag a multi-institutional faculty research project with AIMS, in which we worked with the radiocardiologist of AIMS to basically try and develop a applied mechanics solution to see whether the flow of blood through the veins and arteries can tell us how far a patient is into heart disease. And my role as the PI there was to look at the net social benefit of developing an algorithm like that. So can you imagine how a finance professor can then work with radiocardiologists and work with applied mechanics professors within a system to come up with a solution that is using so many different kinds of expertise. So please try and think about such solutions. And the moment you write a proposal that has these kind of solutions, be rest assured, funding will not be an issue, because all agencies are actively looking for solutions, and they are plush with funds, especially after COVID, and they are really wanting to invest heavily in such kind. I'm sorry, is there someone who has a question?
Shweta, could you please put the mics off for every other participant? Professor Singh, your mic is muted. You will have to enable it by yourself. I think all
Am
participants
I
were
audible?
muted because it's...
Am I
Yes,
audible?
you're audible.
Okay, I think when
Professor
Shweta
Singh,
was
you're
muting
audible.
everyone, I also got muted in the.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
no,
yes.
not an issue. Also, ma'am, I think there are lots of people who are waiting in the lobby. So, that thing is popping up on my screen. Can we deny them or admit them, whatever the situation is?
I think we should admit them because we've already allowed people. Can we admit them, please?
Okay, thank you so much. Now, another aspect that is really gaining a lot of momentum across campuses in India are entrepreneurship, the area of startups. Okay? And this is keeping in line with the national agenda of Make in India, Startup India, and so on. As a result of this, we have started a minor in entrepreneurship for our BTech students, for which I've developed two courses in entrepreneurial finance. Okay? Now, again, in this area, because it is mirroring the national agenda, whatever research projects we are writing, whatever incubators we have on campus, they are able to get good amount of funding. So please link whatever you're doing. See, one research you do for the pure joy of research, and that could be hardcore empirical research where you're getting into the depth of investigation in your area. Please continue to do that, because that is very, very rewarding. But if you're on the side also looking at attracting funding, also looking at attracting research projects or consultancies, then you have to develop solutions and create niches for your own self, so that people know that, okay, if I want to talk on entrepreneurial finance, she is the person to go to. If I want to look at an interdisciplinary approach to healthcare, then maybe she is the person to go to. So please try and develop a niche that links you to the overall agenda of the government, overall agenda of the funding agencies, and take that, as your objective whenever you're writing a research proposal. The other benefit that comes in actually doing research and carrying that to your class is that it enriches your class. Otherwise, your classes would be purely theoretical, based on some text, based on some books, which students can anyway read and learn by themselves. These days, our students are becoming even more demanding, and they want to understand how the concepts that we teach them in class actually get linked to the real issues around us. So this kind of research really enriches your class, and you may find students also being very, very actively interested in helping you with your research. Okay, at least that's what we find here at IIT Delhi. Another aspect is that once you do research in these areas, you have a very good potential of high impact publications or cases, all emanating through this research. And whatever projects I have got so far have been based on these hardcore research that we've been doing. Okay. Another help that it gives you is that it gives you the potential for management development programs, because even managers are looking at solutions which can get translated into a particular industry or sector. So when we did this work with AIMS, we got a lot of interest from companies like GE, who are into medical equipment, from Pfizer, who are wanting us to share their research with them, because they also have big research divisions, and they were interested in carrying forward that work. In faculty development programs, where something similar to this, where we are sharing what we do, how we approach research. Faculty also benefit a lot because they're able to think of a new perspective, okay, compared to what they've been traditionally following. And then, of course, in IIT, as I'm sure you'll be having at your own institutes, especially after COVID, we have this e-Vidya program where we have started offering online certificate courses, short-term courses, to people across the world. Okay, so these are called continuous education programs in IIT Delhi. And there also we have been able to use our research. In fact, we've been able to attract a lot many more participants based on the research that we show. Okay, so any any questions, comments, observations so far?
Any person has any questions, please raise your hand. I do not see any raised hands at the
Okay,
moment.
great. Thank you so much, Professor Agarwal. Okay, so let me just move on
There
to
is
the
Amar
next.
Vinod and Dr. Ashima. I think two hands are there. Mr. Amar Vinod, can you please enable your mic and ask your question? And I think there is Dr.
Good
Ashima, so
morning,
we'll give you
ma'am.
a chance next.
Okay,
Good
let me just
morning,
come back to
Yamini,
the.
ma'am. Hello. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Vinod, please
Yes,
ask your question. We can hear you.
Yeah. Good morning, Shweta, ma'am. My
good
question to
morning.
you,
Hmm.
my question to you, like when you say about the study, like the case study or something like especially we belongs from the management faculty, and is there anything that we can able to do in a management or something like we have an related the case study with HRM or something like in an institutional level or in a management field, because
Hmm.
when we see in a scopus there are the list of the journal of the
Hmm.
related to the management, while in a
Hmm.
publication when we go, and there are the, so
Hmm.
much of hurdles we will find while
Hmm.
publication the research paper in a
Hmm.
scopus. So is there anything that you can provide us some solutions or something for a management level?
Sure. So, Amarji, if you remember the material that I have shared with you, the two guides to academic writing, one from ResearchGate and the other one which is from a professor, it's available online. All of them have step-by-step modes of how to write an effective research paper. Now, please remember that these days journals are also very picky and choosy because there's so many submissions coming in. I know myself, I run a journal, so I know the challenges that are there. So we are looking for papers that are linked to the issues that we are facing today, that have some sort of interdisciplinary approach that has been imbibed. Okay, so please ensure, I don't know what papers you've been writing so far, but please ensure that you follow these aspects, because whenever we look at the preliminary glance of papers before we assign reviewers to them, we are looking for a paper that captures a new thought, a paper that looks at a problem in a new way, so a new methodology, okay, or a paper that is looking at very recent empirical evidence on some issue that has been plaguing the management world. Now, whether you look at any one of the SDGs, or you look at supply chain issues which are plaguing the world today, especially after the Russian Ukraine war, you would realize that these are the issues that even journals are interested in, because they're wanting new thoughts and new ideas to be published through their journal. They're not looking for the same old empirical evidence which you are, sharing again and again from a different market, maybe. Okay, so I would like to understand from you what you are working on these days so that I can give you some more insight.
Ma'am, I'm working on the HRM, that is the
Okay.
performance appraisal that is being
Hmm.
happening
Hmm.
because we belongs to the hotel management college. So in a hotel industry after the COVID, the performance appraisal is being impacting of the employee. So there are
Hmm.
the new thoughts have been created and new psychological performance appraisal that
Hmm.
I have been created. So that will help
Okay.
for the industry to go
Mm-hmm.
for it, something with the
Okay,
new
so
because
Amarji, because you're looking at performance appraisal of employees, I don't know whether you are actually putting in a lot of literature review behind these appraisal systems,
yes,
and whether you're sharing this empirical evidence that is very unique. Are the results of your appraisal, or is the methodology that you follow in your appraisal system very unique, something that a journal would be
Yes,
interested in publishing?
yes.
Okay, what is the unique aspect?
The unique aspect that what I have considered, that is a psychological performance appraisal thing, because normally we have the appraisal system that is
Hmm.
360 degree in hospital industry, but
Hmm.
sometimes it's a bias, it's a diversity bias or something. These are the things that we have seen, and same
Okay.
thing I have applied with, I have contacted with an HR of the hospital
Hmm.
industry.
Hmm.
So they have also come through with this thing, the conclusion from the
Hmm.
HR, that
Huh.
these are the something the unique. It helps to people to boost, and it will helps to reduce the retention of the employee, because due to the performance
Retention
appraisal, normally the old
increases.
method that we
Mm-hmm.
are going through, people thinks
Okay.
that okay, I will leave the company is not giving me something. So these are the
Mm-hmm.
something new technology I have been working through.
No,
So on the
that's fine. But
basis,
for okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I've understood
yeah,
what you're working on. Have you been including psychological theories as foundations
yes,
for this new
yes,
initiative?
I have
Okay,
designed
so
in,
just share your paper with me if you
yeah,
don't mind, and I
sure,
would like to go through it and then share how you can make it better. Okay, because
yeah,
whenever
yeah,
we
sure,
talk about any kind of psychology or behavior, there should be a lot of emphasis on psychological theories that form the foundation of this kind of work. And another thing that happens is when you look at the author profile and you see that the author is purely from finance but is sharing a lot of work on psychology, then that becomes an issue. So maybe if you get on board a psychology professor also, that will
okay,
add a lot of credibility to the author profile. Because when we look at the first glance at a paper, we're not just looking at the merits of the paper, we're also looking at whether the people behind the paper have the requisite capability to actually write that paper. Okay, so
okay,
that is also very important. I hope that all of you, and this is not for Amarji, this is for all of you. I hope that all of you run plagiarism checks whenever you
yes,
write and publish something, okay? Because that is a big turn off when it comes to journals. Because the first thing we do is to run a plagiarism check. And if we find that here's a finance professor writing on psychology and some of the theories have been just picked up, then that's a immediate desk reject. So, Amarji, if you don't mind, your
yeah,
idea sounds very intriguing, and it seems that you have put in all the theoretical base there. So, I would just like to have a look at your paper, and please also
sure, ma'am,
share which are the
sure,
journals that you've been targeting. Okay.
yes, ma'am,
Uh,
sure,
because Amarji has asked this question, let me give you a shortcut. Okay,
yeah,
don't quote me outside, but
no,
let me
no, no,
just give you these shortcuts. Please look at the journals that you're targeting. Okay.
Mm,
If the journal is purely an international journal, please go through the editorial body of that journal. It is important that you have some Indians on board. Please go through the
okay,
journals and see whether they do publish pure Indian studies. Okay, because a lot of these international journals are looking at an international perspective. They are not interested in looking at one tiny performance appraisal system somewhere in India. They are more interested in looking at international perspectives. So look
okay,
at the journal, study the journal, understand the kind of papers that the journal publishes. Okay, see whether the journal publishes pure Indian studies, studies by pure Indian authors or not. Otherwise, it'll be a good idea to collaborate with a foreign author, okay,
mhm,
on your work. So we have a lot of collaborations that we do at IIT Delhi also, with foreign authors who are experts in that area, and we work together, and that kind of improves the chances of getting published in these top AA star category journals. The other thing is, if you're really interested in publications quickly, especially through Scopus and all, look for journals that have multiple issues coming out in a particular year. Also look at journals that look at differing perspectives from the field of management. So you may look at a journal like Emerging Markets Review, or you may look at Advances in Management Research, a journal that has published not just HR but also finance and operations and strategy. So when you have journals that have a multi perspective, then something unique which comes in from the HR perspective, they would be interested in, compared to a hardcore HRM journal who has seen multiple articles on performance appraisal systems and who have published multiple articles on performance appraisal systems. They may not find anything new in your work. Okay. So
Okay.
look at it from the perspective of the journal as well. Please understand that it's people like
Yes.
us who are sitting behind the journals, and we also have our own objectives. So please study the journals. A lot of times scholars just blindly target journals, and then they get very very disappointed when their papers get rejected.
Yes,
Okay.
I true, ma'am.
So right, so please do this study of the journals, and I tell my scholars to prepare a matrix.
Okay.
Okay. And if we have journals that are looking at international studies, I tell them that you please present an international perspective, and multi-country studies are much easier to publish because naturally they are providing you an international perspective compared to a local perspective that you could be providing. So please look at journals and study journals and address them accordingly. Okay. So I hope, Amarji, that
Yes,
answers your
ma'am.
query.
This was
Okay.
the tip of the day, I can say. Whatever you have suggested, and I'll work towards it, and I'll make sure I can able to be find out the solution for my
Sure.
paper. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely, absolutely, Amarji. And please feel free to share your work. If
Sure,
there's
sure,
any insight I
definitely.
could give, even though HR is not my area, but at least from the experience of writing papers, I would definitely share that with you. And Professor Agarwal, I would request you to please share my email ID also with the participants, so that if they want to keep in touch in the future, also sometimes they may want to discuss some research they're doing or whatever, then I would be more than happy to help them in the future also. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure,
Thank
we'll
So
you.
do
thank
that,
you so much,
Professor
Amarji.
Shweta.
Thank you.
We
Dr.
have another
Ashima.
question from Dr. Ashima. Yes, Dr.
Yes.
Ashima, could you please ask a question?
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Ma'am,
morning.
my question is like there are some concepts which are very niche, like they are just
Hmm.
emerging. So how can we create? Because no much literature reviews available.
Hmm.
Should we
Hmm.
go in the form of case study while including some companies and then write about them, or
Hmm.
how to proceed further? Because I am stuck with one paper where the
Okay.
literature is less, but the
Can you,
concept is something.
Doctor? Sorry.
Yes,
Please
ma'am.
carry on. Please carry
But
on.
it has a very impact on the industry now, and it is impacting the industry as well as the employees.
Okay. Can you share this idea that you're working on, Dr. Ashima?
That's moonlighting.
Okay, moonlighting. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, can you look at literature that looks at different kinds of employment practices through the years and build a
Ma'am,
base on that?
ma'am, actually, if we talk about for the past 2 years or maximum by 3 years since the COVID, arose,
Hmm.
from that time we are able to see that the moonlighting is take place people because people were at home and they were doing 2 3 jobs simultaneously,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before
Hmm.
that there was no as such information available with the industry or the companies,
Hmm.
or maybe
No,
with
no.
the employees.
Okay, so Dr. Ashima, what had happened was that during COVID, people who were with full-time jobs were moonlighting on the side because you were working from home, right?
Right,
But
right.
traditionally, in the consultancy space, people have been picking up multiple assignments and working on them um, simultaneously, right? I mean, even as professors here at IIT Delhi, we are definitely, our day job is here at IIT Delhi where we are teaching and doing research. But at the same time, we are also consulting for outside agencies. We're also doing projects for outside agency. So at one time, a person may be employed in with multiple agencies, with one parent organization as the base. So I'm sure in employment literature, again, I'm not an expert on HR, but in employment literature, you would be finding examples from the consultancy world where people were taking on multiple assignments. Now, the issue here is a legal issue. The issue is
Right.
that you have been contracted by an agency and you're supposed to exclusively work for that agency, but without getting their prior approval, without getting their permission, you are now earning from multiple sources. Now, this is a legal issue. So
Right.
your paper would have theories from the consultancy space, would have the legal aspects, and then present a case as to why moonlighting is not a great. And everybody knows that. I mean, this is not a researchable issue. You know that it's a contractual obligation for you to work for the organization that has employed you. And you
Right.
shouldn't be actually earning money from other sources. So in IT, because we are earning money from other sources, there's a proper policy in place where anytime I get a research project, I have to give a specific cut to IIT Delhi, because the
Right.
only reason why I'm getting these consultancies and these projects is because of the umbrella of IIT Delhi that I'm sitting under. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a proper policy in place. So what you can advocate is that you can have similar policies in place with organizations. An organization may choose not to implement it. They may say, no, listen, you're my employee and you will work exclusively for me. If I don't give you enough work, it's okay, but we will not allow you to earn from any other source. However, there could be some companies which are more flexible, like, for example, IIT Delhi, which says, okay, you have this minimum teaching requirement that you must fulfill. But above and beyond this, if you're teaching outside, if you're getting research projects, if you're getting consultancy, if you're taking these online courses, this is the cut that should come to IIT Delhi. Okay, so I think this becomes more of a contractual issue, more of a legal issue, rather than any major human resource management issue. Okay, do you get my perspective, Dr. Ashima?
Yes, I got your perspective very well. But, ma'am, I would like to say one more thing here. When we talk about this concept, originally the meaning of this concept was when it was introduced, right? The
Hmm,
way back
hmm,
in 70s or 60s, the
hmm,
original meaning was like that if somebody is working for 9 to 5, after
hmm,
9 to 5, if somebody goes for the, any other kind of work, that is
hmm,
known as moonlighting. But
hmm,
nowadays it is reframed as that if you're doing a job, let's say I'm working with 9 to 5 with BVIMR, right?
hmm,
And
hmm.
if I feel like that, I have good command over recruitment selection, I can be associated with some of the organization. And as and when I get time during my working hours, I
Hmm.
can do that job, right? So
You
that
can do
is what
the
it
job
is.
provided your service contract with your parent organization allows you to do that.
Yes, but people are doing it without seeking that permission. And that is what
Exactly.
that is what is it. It is coming as a legal issues in some of the companies, but
Hmm.
some companies are promoting it. I
Exactly. So
really
that's
want
what I
to.
said. It totally depends on the organization and the employee. So as I said, IIT Delhi allows us this flexibility to do all of this research projects, consultancies, this program that I'm teaching. It's all officially allowed to me, right? And I am disclosing this to IIT Delhi. I'm giving IIT Delhi a cut, and IIT is also earning through this. But IIT has stipulated that, okay, Shweta, you'll need to teach X amount of hours in a week, and that is non-negotiable. So it totally depends on that. So I don't see whether this becomes like a research question that needs answering through empirical evidence. I think it's more of a legal issue, and here we need to frame better policies. So as an HR person, you can probably suggest a policy that allows this kind of flexibility. So you may have two, three scenarios. A, where an organization, so for example, if you're working with DRDO, okay, the
Right,
Defense
right.
Research Div- I'm sure that they would not allow their employees to share that knowledge with anyone else because it has
Because
strategic importance, it has national
right,
importance. Okay, but a place, an educational institution like IIT Delhi, so if I'm working on a research project and if I'm creating an IPR through it, then of course that I can't share with anyone. That is the property of IIT Delhi and of my client, whoever has given
right.
me funding. Okay, but otherwise, so this I'm sharing with you, the way we do research, the way we handle projects, I'm sharing with you. So it becomes more of a legal issue. I don't think you can write a research paper around it. I do think you can write a case study around it, in which you can give them 2 3 formats of possible service contracts in the post COVID world. A,
Right.
where there's no moonlighting allowed. B, where you have this flexibility. And C, where you're working as a pure consultant, where you're not answerable to any one organization and you are working with multiple spaces all the time. And this is something that is very popular these days with a lot of youngsters, you must be knowing, who are working as
Right, right.
freelance
Yes,
consultants. Okay,
yes.
so I don't see a research paper potential here, especially for a very good journal, but I do see a case study potential.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your
You're most
inputs.
welcome, Dr. Ashima. And also, if you design these contracts now, please work with a legal professional, and you can use this as consultancy also for other organizations who are struggling with these kind of service contracts. But to add
Sure, ma'am.
credibility to your work, please associate yourself with a legal expert. Okay, because there are a lot of
Sure.
legal nuances which we as academicians may not fully appreciate.
Right, right.
Okay,
Thank you so
all the
much,
best,
ma'am,
Dr.
for your.
Ashima. All the best. Dr.
Can we
Neetu.
have Dr. Neetu Jain?
Hello,
Please
hello.
open your
Am I
videos and
audible?
enable your mic. Yes, you're audible, Dr. Jain.
Yeah. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning,
Good
Yamini,
morning.
ma'am. Good morning, Shweta, ma'am.
Good
Uh,
morning.
so, so Shweta ma'am, my question is that I basically work in the field of economics. So
Mm-hmm.
normally the type of work that in past I have done is basically I have worked on the testing the long-term relationship between stock market and the macro variables.
Okay.
So either within India, or in the past I have also taken stock market of India and stock market of BRICS. And
Okay.
recently I am working on a paper wherein I have taken COVID-19 cases and
Mm-hmm.
its impact on stock market, wherein I am going to use Garch model in that. So
Mm-hmm.
the work that I am doing right now is completely economic based. Now, as
Mm-hmm.
you have said, and ma'am, which is very rightly said, that now is the time wherein we need to intermingle the things. We need to
Yes.
intermingle one subject with another subject. So,
True.
ma'am, it would be great if you can, help me in knowing that how I can, link these areas like stock market, macro variables to something else which is going to give me wider aspect also, and also the publication things will be easy.
Okay. So when you were talking about all this now, I had 3 4 ideas in my mind. If you don't mind, I'll share them with you.
Yeah, thank you
So
so much.
recently, I've just guided a PhD which is basically a multidisciplinary work, and it is based on Solo's paradox. Have you heard of this? Solo's
No,
paradox.
ma'am. No,
Okay,
ma'am, this is
so
new for me.
Dr. Neetu, what this means is that when you look at the stock markets and the impact, you know that stock markets are technology driven, right? Because a lot of the transactions that are happening are high frequency transactions, and mostly are based on supercomputers, main computers across the world, especially when you look at the interlinkages between different stock exchanges. Now, the Solo's paradox says that the more technology expenditures you make, the lesser is the effectiveness of that technology intervention. Isn't this a paradox? So, all of us think that the more technology we put into, say, stock markets, or say the banking sector, if you look at core banking solutions, or any kind of macroeconomic system, if you're looking at whether they're financial markets or financial system, whatever, the Solo's paradox works. So, can you look at some empirical evidence from these markets that suggests this kind of paradox? So, here we are just thinking out of the box, and we are looking at the same stock markets through a different lens. The other thing is something that I published in my own monograph called Equity Markets in India, that was published by Springer, is we applied the GARCH model on the NSE data for the past 20 years, ever since its inception. And we saw the impact of leverage effect. Okay. So have you heard of this, Dr. Neetu, in the context of stock markets, the leverage effect?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, ma'am. I have heard about it.
Right?
I've read about it.
So can you work on the leverage effect? Because that kind of tells the stock market as to what is the delay in case of any kind of shock or any kind of negative news in each market. Okay, so that gives a very, very real trading strategy to investors based on the leverage effect that is evidenced from your GARCH modeling. Okay, so look at those aspects from your data that can be linked to practice. Okay, that can be linked to investment strategy, that can be linked to the strategy of deploying for example technology in a particular domain. Another thing that you can look at is genetic algorithms and machine learning tools. So these days, through Python, you have a lot of machine learning tools and genetic algorithms that are being deployed on stock market data. And these papers are getting published in a big way. Okay. So I had one PhD on stock market data where we employed machine learning tools through Python. Okay. And there also we got amazing publications because we were able to understand from machine learning as to what are the patterns that the stock market data is following. And here we looked at primarily IPO market data. So we didn't look at just all the data in stock markets, but we focused only on IPO market data, and we were able to look at underpricing or leaving money on the table, that concept in IPOs through the deployment of machine learning. Okay. So everybody, you have so many papers on stock market data. It's heavily, heavily researched. It's very essential that you look at either a new lens or you borrow from Solos, say for example, Solos paradox, which is a technology efficiency paradox. Okay, you must have heard of the DEA, the data envelopment analysis. You can look at these kind of methodology. DEA is a very popular methodology, and you can deploy that on any macroeconomic system, whether it's stock market data or it's financial systems. So look at studying the same data through different lenses and look at those aspects of the data, highlight those aspects that link your finding to practice, because only then will it suddenly become very, very attractive for a journal. So when we worked on the leverage effect, we said that based on our analysis, this is how investment strategies should be placed. Looking at the leverage effect present in NSE data. When we looked at Solo's paradox, we said actually banks should stop spending on technology because it's actually having a, it's having a inverted U-shaped kind of a approach. And that was big news for practitioners because everybody feels that the more we spend on developing our technology and systems, the better we'll be. And based on that, we were able to get funding from one of the RBI studies because they were looking for something different. So stock market data is heavily researched. Can you deploy these kind of tools and come up with something that links to practice? That'll be very interesting.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is really a great help. One more question, ma'am. So when we
Yes.
talk about stock market data, is
Hmm.
it always very important to take stock market data by Bloomsburg or by only taking from the, sites which we can Google easily can also be used in the research? Because
Um,
many
um,
times Bloomsburg data is not easily available. We need to actually find out those agencies, and also it is not free of cost.
Yeah, tell me about it, Dr. Neetu. I mean, IIT Delhi being a centrally funded institute, it was a big challenge for me. I fought for 3 years to get one Bloomberg terminal on campus because it was probably the biggest purchase of a database that IIT Delhi had done, in its history. So I understand the dearth of getting this high frequency data. But if you're targeting a very high category journal, okay, they do look at your data sources. And
Okay,
they
ma'am.
do look at reliable data sources like Bloomberg, Thomson Reuters, Prime Infobase, especially if you're looking at IPO markets. So it is essential if you're targeting a very top notch journal to definitely have these very authentic and respected databases as your data sources. However, if you're looking for maybe a B, C category journal in your Scopus list, they are more open to you picking up data from Yahoo Finance, Money Control, and other such freely available sites. Instead of writing these as sources, I would prefer that you write SEBI's website or NSC, BSC, or the company's own annual reports to pick up variables. Those are more authentic and more respectable as data sources than probably these freely Google driven sites like, Money Control, Yahoo Finance, and all of that. But it does work in these lower category journals. But in top notch journals, please don't use these sources. They will not be okay with it. They
Ma'am,
ask
one
you
more.
very categorically, what are your data sources?
Yes,
They
ma'am, they
ask
do.
you.
Ma'am, one more thing, if you permit.
Please.
Ma'am, if you can suggest some good journals in the field of economics or finance,
Hmm.
which I can read in my daily
Hmm.
practice to keep
Yes.
myself updated, that will be
Yes,
appreciated.
absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Neetu. In fact, the second slide was just based on that. Whether you look at the FT50 list, or you look at the FT100, or you look at ABDC, always go for the top 5 percentile of journals in your area. That is essential when you're reading. Okay. The reason is that when you read from these top journals, you actually come to know whatever is the current work going on across the world in this area broadly. And that helps you kind of look beyond, when you're sitting on the shoulder of giants, then you have a better perspective. So always look at the top 5 percentile of journals. So in finance, we have Journal of Finance, we have Journal of Corporate Finance, we have Journal of Applied Finance. In economics, we have Applied Economics. Let me just do a search because I'm not an economics expert, but always look at the top 5 percentile. You can go to the FT100 list, you can go to the FT50 list, you can also do a ABDC list, and you'll have these journals. Always look at preliminary when you're just trying to think of a research question. Always look at the past 5 years papers. I'm not saying you don't look at other papers. Definitely, you'll have to pick up the seminal papers from each aspect. But when you're thinking of a research question, look at the last 5 years data. A lot of people base their research question on something that has been published 10 years ago. Now, the issue that happens is after that, so much a decade worth of work has been already done, and people are not interested in looking at that research question anymore. So please look at the immediate 5 preceding years of the top 5 percentile of journals. That will give you a very solid base on where you can take off from. What are the current emerging areas of research that are getting published? What is the best methodology that is being employed? What are the different perspectives that are emerging? Okay. And then if you pick up one base paper or two base papers from these journals, and you apply the same thought on maybe an Indian data set, or if there's a US study but you replicate it on BRICS, or you do a European or a East Asian perspective, chances of you getting published are very high, very high. However, I have a caveat here, very important. One of my scholars picked up an A-star journal from AVDC, and she picked up a methodology. We were working on corporate governance. She's already published and she's working in Canada now. But we thought that because it's a methodology that has already been published by an A-star journal, it must be a very accurate methodology. But fortunately, at IIT Delhi, we have this minor project aspect in which we make our scholars do a pilot study on the idea and the methodology that they picked up. When we actually deployed that methodology, we realized that there were errors in that methodology. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what happens is that a lot of these top journals are have a specific bias where either, scholars of the Australian Business Deans Council, they are getting published, or you do have professors who know people on the editorial board. You have a specific bias when it comes to Western research compared to Indian authors research, and so on. So somehow this paper got published. Okay, but the methodology that was deployed was incorrect. And then we wrote to the author and we said that, this is the issue. Are we on the correct path when we say that there's a issue here, or are we doing something wrong? So they said, no, no, thank you so much for pointing that out. We realize that this is a mistake here and we will work on it. So then we were so stunned and we had to rethink the entire methodology. So please don't just accept things blindly, especially the methodology. You can accept the literature, you can look at the idea, the thought, but when it comes to the methodology, be very, very sure about the methodology you deployed.
Sure,
Okay,
ma'am.
Dr.
Sure.
Neetu, this is my personal experience that I'm sharing. We were really, after that, we got a little disillusioned as to the quality of these top journals, but then that is how it is.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
insight.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Okay. All the best, Dr.
Any
Neetu.
other questions? They can raise your hands.
Okay.
I think that is.
Okay, great. So I think we have 5 minutes left, Dr. Agarwal. Just let me know when we are just wrapping up the session, just maybe 1 minute before that, so that I can wrap up. And of course, I'll be sharing all of this material with you immediately after the presentation. So please share it with all the participants. And as I said, this is not like a one-time kind of interaction. Please feel free to keep in touch with me through our research journeys. We are all in this together. So please feel free. I can see Mr. Kamal raising his hand.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kamal, can you please ask a question?
Yeah. As far as our university is concerned, that is Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University. I'm Dr. Alaskar from Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University Institute of Management, Kolhapur.
Okay.
The thing is that whatever papers we people, that means our management institute faculty members are publishing, it comes under Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University, deemed to be university. Even though earlier it was displaying Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University Institute of Management, after some times we found that all the papers are merged under Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University only. So what will be the process of again getting back our papers with our name, with our institute's name?
Dr. Agarwal, I'm not too sure if I am the right person to be answering
Actually,
this.
what they're asking is what happens in Scopus or in other places is when most of our authors, we have our publications listed among our names. So when university takes a Scopus subscription and they want to list as to how many citations they have, many people's citations as well as works get clubbed together. So usually the process is that you have your own author profile in Scopus, which lists your publications. So Professor Kapil, I would suggest that ResearchGate in ORCID ID, also the Scopus profile that you have should be of your own, which lists your work. Also, SSRN network is one where you can list your publications and identify. Once you do that, ResearchGate, Google Scholar is another
Google
important
Scholar
aspect.
H-index is there.
So
you also have Scholar One index, which is there.
So once you list over there, what happens is if you are to be identified as a scientific scholar, Google or other agencies will pick up your work on their own, even if you belong to the deemed university. But when the deemed university is taking up, scholarly works, it will have to, when you write your work, you will have to write Bharati Vidyapeeth deemed to be university and the institute's name. So that institution's name gets highlighted as well besides the university's name. So that's the only option over there. If you just write BVDU, then only your work that you do gets clubbed with the university. That is the usual process that you will have to adopt. I think that is what was your question, which you were looking at. If we are wrong, you can ask your question again.
Yeah, I believe how you mention in your publication in BVDU is Bharati Vidyapeeth, within bracket deemed to be university, and then after that your university name. So in that case, you are still affiliated and your individual publications are picked with your name and your university or individual unit subunit name.
Yes,
Like
Dr.
if
Bharata,
you go
matlab,
to this,
sorry, Professor Agarwal, please carry on.
नहीं आप बोल रहे थे, आप प्लीज बोलिए, कोई बात
हम
नहीं।
यही बोलना चाह रहे थे कि हम लोग भी जब पेपर्स लिखते हैं तो नेचुरली हम कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग ऑथर होते हैं, उसके संग हम अपना अफिलिएशन मेंशन करते हैं, बट ऑल दीज एजेंसीज आर एबल टू पिक अप our individual names and link it to the work that we've been doing, as well as see the affiliation. So this was news to me when Kamalji said that सबके citations club हो जाते हैं and only the organization is mentioned and the individuals probably don't get
Actually,
that
what he meant to
recognition.
say is that what happens is when universities go for NAAC or for other accreditations, they have to show their research work. So many times, let's say, I don't know if you've seen LinkedIn also, if you write alumni of Bharatiya Vidyapeeth, all alumni who've passed from Bharatiya Vidyapeeth will come in that. Have they mentioned Bharatiya Vidyapeeth deemed to be university? So what happens is a scholar sometimes is only recognized through his university. But you can be recognized by the institution also if you mention the affiliation of your institution, and separate pages of your own, like Google Scholar, ResearchGate, or the others, usually give you a chance to highlight your work.
Yes.
So I think
if you refer to SSR, if I refer to NAAC accreditation and NBA, if you refer to SSR and AQAR, there will be individual column of your individual paper and your individual citation of that particular paper. So there, your contribution is acknowledged by the university and your individual affiliation. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Because already we wrote to our Bharatiya Vidyapeeth, Dr. Kirti Gupta, we already wrote. Earlier names were there, separate, that means individual names were there. And I'm talking about Scopus. ResearchGate, it will automatically take. For Google Scholar, it will, the paper which are peer reviewed and it is from well-known journal, it will automatically listed in Google Scholar and ResearchGate. But as far as the Scopus is concerned, earlier our names were there with individual institutes name. But what happened after that? It is merged together under Bharatiya Vidyapeeth deemed university only. Now, as far as NIRF is concerned, because being it's at the institution level, so individual count has to be considered. That is why the name of a particular author comes under that particular institution has to be displayed. We already wrote to the Dr. Kirti Madam. Let us see how it will go about. Okay.
No, I hope, Kamalji, that your concern will be met very soon and it will all be sorted out.
Okay.
Okay. So, Dr. Agarwal, I can see that the time is up, but I will immediately send out an email as a response to the email that was sent to me from your organization, and I'll attach all of these documents there along with this presentation. Please share it with all the participants. Please feel free to share my official email ID also with them. And please encourage them to keep in touch, and they can get in touch with me in the future anytime they want any kind of guidance. And if there are any last minute questions, I'll be happy to take them.
If there are any questions, they can raise their hands. I understand there are not many questions. I think it's been a very interactive session. Professor Singh, thank you so much for taking out your time. We had, we wanted you to come here and speak to all our participants because it's important to understand from such a prolific scholar yourself as to how do we really go about making our research proposal, how do we go about really thinking about it. And when you said that you align your research areas, not only in terms of the love that you have or where you want to research, but also together with what the streams are trending on, or how the government potentially is looking at developing the different fields, like yourself when you talked about entrepreneurship or the others. I think they were very important aspects for people to recognize that research agencies are also trying to understand and develop sectors and see what policies can be brought out through the different scientific methods and understanding that can help policymakers to dwell upon it in a further manner. And that contribution which you actually identified in the field is also very important. I'm really grateful that you took questions. This was one of the most interactive session. We've had questions earlier also, but this was one of the most interactive sessions. I hope everybody's questions were answered. And since this is the last but the most important session for us, we thank you once again for humbly
Thank you so
accepting
much.
our invitation at Bharatiya Vidyapeeth. And we will definitely want you to be more associated with us in guiding more research works and more activities. Thank you so much, Professor
Absolutely,
Singh.
Dr. Agarwal. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a pleasure to interact virtually with all of you and the participants. And I understood that the session is not very long, so I wanted to at least take up a few questions so that few scholars who have some doubts may at least get some clarity and move on with their work. So that was the aim, and I'll be sharing all this material which they can read at their leisure. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and please take care of yourselves. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of Research Cell BVIMR New Delhi, I take this opportunity to introduce the report made on 5-day. We'll take a minute to just introduce you to all the sessions. The inaugural session was inaugurated by Professor Yamini Agarwal. She then invited the Associate Professor, I am Shillong Professor Neelam Rani ji, who really enlightened us on her experience in handling ICSSR and BIRAC projects. The participants were more than 180, and let me just inform the August gathering, the overall number of certificates will be probably 535 certificates pan-India. So we are very grateful to all our eminent speakers. June 12th, day 2 FDP session was inaugurated again by Professor Yamini Agarwal, and she enlightened us on the various aspects of research proposal. Followed by it, Professor Brotho also shared her enlightened experience on use of artificial intelligence in sustainable education, which was one of the NEP 2020 agenda, with her experience and execution of project. It was followed by Professor Anshu Lekha Gupta ji, ERA University, Dehradun, who shared the experience managing tribal projects in mushroom farming and regional agendas of Uttarakhand for more economic development. June 13th saw a participation of Professor M. Thamozi, a professor and head IIT Delhi, who engaged the participants in terms of language proficiency, writing style, and various other aspects, including great learning experiences shared by her. Day 4 was followed by on June
Professor
14th.
Bhardwaj, I'll say that Professor Thamuzi was from IIT Madras. So I
Yeah,
think that
I
was a
mistake
little confusion.
again. Yeah, Professor Tamuzi was IIT Madras. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was an update. We regret for that. We again on June 14th, Professor MP Gupta, professor and chair at IIT Delhi, shared various importance of corporate projects such as Microsoft Accelerator Program, applying for IBM Labs, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and many other projects for corporate affairs. The participants included the some of the queries were included, including his experience in managing EU projects and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India projects. Last but not the least, June 15th, fifth day session was concluded by Professor R.K. Uppalji, professor and principal of Baba Farid College, who shared the importance and passion for the researchers to get affiliated and publish in quality research papers, patents, and funded projects and consultancy projects. And overall, Professor Shveta Singh, area chair and professor in finance, IIT Delhi, shared her experience in handling finance projects focused on unique methodologies, traditional concepts, sharing her experience in multidisciplinary, and some of the very important ones were in social medicine sciences, where she was applying developing algorithms with AIMS faculty members, developing interdisciplinary projects, and developing many more algorithms and sustainable development goals. The session ended by we take this opportunity to thank our founders, Honorable Patang Rao Kadamji, for his vision for social transformation through dynamic education. Also thanking the inspired leadership of our management support, including Honorable Chancellor Sir, Professor Shivaji Rao Kadam Sir, Professor VC, Pro VC Sir, Vishwajit Kadam Sir, and Honorable Vice Chancellor, Registrar Sir, Dean Professor Varneka Sir, and Director Professor Yamini Agarwal for their valuable support in making this program a great success. Last but not the least, the participants were always there. The organizing team, my very heartfelt thanks to all of them. We really congratulate the team, the speakers, and the management for this wonderful organization, and we look forward to many more interactions in near future. Thank you so much. Namaskar all.
Thank you, Professor Singh.
Thank you
so much.
Announcement. All the participants are requested to make their fill their feedback forms. These certificates will be released once you fill the feedback form. The second announcement is that the participants from outside BVP are required to submit their fees, and their certificates will be released thereon. The third announcement is PhD admissions are on, so kindly apply and share. Thanks. Participants are requested to kindly stay back for their certificates. We will be publishing it on Microsoft Teams, so kindly wait and receive. Thanks. Okay. There is an announcement and there is a technical difficulty. We have compiled 535 certificates in PDF formats, but I believe there are certain technical hiccups. We are not able to publish it on Microsoft Teams. So kindly receive it on your email ID. And for the people outside BVP, they kindly scan their receipts and share it with us, and we will immediately receive your send your certificates. If there are any questions, queries, we are there. It's welcome. Thanks.